Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's What I Eat in a Day. So these videos are probably some of my highest requested videos. I mean, we all love food. Who doesn't love food? Even though this is a What I Eat in a Day, I'm also bringing you along for a couple of fun things that I've been up to lately, and I want to share something with you that has literally changed my life. Before we hop right in, I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon. If you haven't checked out my Patreon, I'm going to go ahead and link that down below. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it's actually a place where I upload exclusive video content. And I definitely go deeper in terms of the topics that I talk about. And I've really just enjoyed building this community with you guys over there and getting to talk about all of these different kinds of things. So I hope to see some of you over there. And with all of that being said, let's hop into the food. Okay, so I actually picked up this tea on a whim at our local health foods grocery store called Pilgrim's. And when I first tried it, I thought, do I like this? And then I kept sipping and I was like, okay, I'm actually obsessed with this. This tea is so good. So this is made by the Republic of Tea and the flavor is pineapple orange guava. I didn't realize when I bought it that it's actually a larger tea bag. So it's meant to brew like a larger batch, but I'm actually fine with that. And I think I actually use it more than even intended. So I'll brew it in like a large half-gallon jar for a couple of minutes, and then I'll usually fill up another mason jar with some water and then let the tea bag sit in there for a little bit more just to like stretch the tea bag a little farther. So then I pulled my sourdough bread out of the freezer and I popped it in the toaster. Yes, I keep all of my sourdough bread and my bagels in the freezer because I can't eat it fast enough and it stays fresh that way. And it's great going in the toaster like straight out of the freezer. Then I did what has been my favorite life hack lately, and that is using this organic chicken bone broth from Costco. It's their Kirkland brand. And I put it in a pot, and I don't think I showed this, but I actually put in a scoop of collagen powder as well, just to up the nutritional content. And then guys, I had to show you, look at my spice drawer. I was very excited about this. So I was scrolling Instagram one day and I saw a video by Nabella Noor and she showed her spice drawer. And I was like, wait a minute, I can just lay my spices down flat and organize them in the drawer. And so I felt like this was a giant duh when I saw it, but it had never occurred to me. So I turned this drawer to my spice drawer and I'm like pleased as pie with it. So this chicken bone broth is like really bland, so I like to add spices to it when I heat it up. And the spices that I use vary, but I tend to do an umami blend, lots of garlic powder, a little onion powder, some thyme. Sometimes I'll add in a splash of olive oil, some dried rosemary, a good amount of salt. And if I add turmeric, I always make sure to add a little bit of black pepper because supposedly black pepper is what like activates turmeric in the body, or its anti-inflammatory properties. So once that was heating up, I moved on to eggs. Now, these eggs are not all for me. I was going to share an egg with Logie as well, but I typically have 2 to 3 eggs in the morning when I'm having eggs. So the eggs that we've been buying lately are from this brand called Wilcox, and we like getting them at Costco. I know I've mentioned that before. Let me just throw this out there again. I'm so excited for my chicks to grow up and be making eggs. So I fried my eggs in a little bit of olive oil, and once I had done those kind of over medium, I pulled them off the pan and then I grated some fresh Parmesan cheese and then I sprinkled the cheese on top. Now, once I put the Parmesan cheese on top of the eggs, I actually feel like the cheese helps to trap in some of the heat and continues to cook the yolk. So just that's a random little tip there for you. Now, once my sourdough toast had popped up from the toaster, I cut open an avocado, which this avocado was like perfect. That's such a satisfying feeling when you have a perfect avocado. So I spread my avocado on toast. I was making avocado toast for Dan as well on this morning. Logan does not really like avocado toast, actually. So then I squeezed some lemon juice on top. I sprinkled a little bit of everything but the bagel seasoning as well. And then Dan actually picked me a couple of chives because some of our chives have like come back to life recently in our garden. So we cut that up, put that on top. Then I added a little bit of red chili pepper flakes to the top, as well as some chive and garlic goat cheese. So that's what the little dots are. Maybe that's obvious. That's goat cheese. Then I drizzled a little bit of olive oil on top. And then last but not least, I sprinkled some fine sea salt as well as a little bit of Maldon chunky sea salt. Then I poured my bone broth into my mug. I cut up some oranges, and that was my breakfast. By the way, I also take quite a few vitamins in the morning. I take a lot of vitamins with each meal currently at this point. So on this morning, I took a methylated folate, about 4 beef liver pills, desiccated beef liver, some shilajit, some whole food vitamin C, as well as some milk thistle. So I am jumping into this video to share with you something that I am so excited about. And I actually stumbled across this a few months ago and it has blown my mind. And that is Christian Healthcare Ministries. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how I found out about Christian Healthcare Ministries. I was visiting a friend one day and I was telling her that I was really sick of our previous health share program that we were a part of. And we were actually part of a different Christian health share organization. It was very expensive and I had kind of reached the end of my rope with them, because it turned out that after a few years of being with them, paying quite a bit of money, that they did not share for home births. So all of that was just very frustrating. And my friend says, "Nikki, have you ever heard of Christian Healthcare Ministries?" And she starts explaining to me what makes it so great. And as she's talking through it, I'm like, wait a minute, this does sound really great. First off, they have a very generous, straightforward maternity program. So my friend that I was talking with also had a home birth, and unlike my home birth, hers was totally shared for. And what's really awesome about their whole layout is it's very easy to see what you're getting. So when I first logged onto the site, I was not only floored by how affordable the different programs were, but I was also blown away by how easy it was to see what is eligible for sharing at each level. So let me back up. If you don't know what Christian Healthcare Ministries is, it is a budget-friendly, biblical, compassionate healthcare cost solution for Christians in all 50 states and all around the world. So CHM is actually not an insurance company, but rather a cost-sharing ministry who follows Galatians 6:2 with the idea of carrying each other's burdens. There are no restrictions based on age, weight, geographic location, or your previous health history. Now, CHM has actually been around since the 80s, so they have quite a long history. And it was actually really awesome because when my friend told me about them, not only was she able to share her experience, but on top of that, the whole reason she actually joined them in the first place is because her parents had been with CHM for years as well, and they had had a really great experience. So this is obviously a Christian health sharing program. So participating adults must be Christians who live a lifestyle consistent with CHM's statements of beliefs, attend worship regularly as your health permits, and actively follow the teachings of the New Testament in its entirety. CHM members are there for each other and they serve each other because they aim to glorify God, because that's what a ministry does. Christian Healthcare Ministries is an organization that seeks to help people, just like churches, missions, ministers, homeless outreaches, and other similar activities and organizations. CHM is a nonprofit charitable organization, and they've actually received the highest score possible from the Better Business Bureau. And as a woman that wants to have more children, I want to grow my family, God willing, the fact that they have such a generous maternity program was honestly one of the other really exciting things when looking at their program. The other cool thing about CHM is that there is no network. So you have the freedom to choose the healthcare providers that you want to choose. So as long as you're willing to self-pay, you basically submit your medical bills and you're good to go. I don't know that I've ever been so excited about a sponsor because I was literally so excited to sign up with CHM. And the fact that they reached out after I had already been a member, and I was so pumped, and I've already told so many people about their health sharing program, just made me really excited to share this with you guys. Check out Christian Healthcare Ministries. I'm pointing like that because I will have my link down below in the info box. Link arms with fellow believers to carry each other's burdens. I think that that's so cool. So Yeah. Now, moving on to lunch, we actually decided to have sandwiches for lunch because that's what felt like the easiest move on this day. And so I toasted up some of my homemade sourdough bagels, which if you want to know how to make those, I will link my video down below. They're so good and so much easier than you would expect. So then I spread a little stone ground mustard onto my bagel. Then I laid down a few slices of salami, I think like 4 or 5 slices of salami. And then I had some leftover tuna, which this might seem weird, but salami and tuna is actually like a really good combo. We've been eating a lot of tuna lately, so that's why I had some left over. Put it on top, then I cut some fresh mozzarella to add to the sandwich, threw those halves into my oven under a low broiler to melt the mozzarella. Then I put some stone ground mustard on the other half of the sandwich, and that was that. So this is super simple. This is not a typical sandwich for me. Like, I don't know where my head was at. Normal Nikki would probably add like lettuce, cilantro, some sliced onions or pickled onions, maybe some pepperoncinis, thick slices of tomatoes, maybe pickles. But I was just honestly kind of surviving on this day. So you're getting like a basic lunch from me. I also made us some guacamole on the side, and then we pulled out our siete chips from the fridge. And then I also sliced up an apple. All right, so if you watch my videos, you know that I have like a thing for wanting to know how to make spaghetti squash properly. So I threw some spaghetti squash in the oven. I cut it in half on this day, which was different than how I normally cut it because I wanted to make a pasta. I keep attempting this. Spoiler alert, I didn't nail it, but it was still decent, so follow me here. I started off by making a marinade with some olive oil, lots of fresh garlic. I believe this was thyme and oregano, maybe a little bit of rosemary, red chili pepper flakes, lots of lemon juice, and then also some lemon zest. And the reason I was making this marinade is because I decided to marinate shrimp. I am very new to eating shrimp in general. Oh, as you can see, I also added a little bit of mustard, and then I stirred all of that together. This marinade smelled amazing. Now, I had been letting my shrimp thaw all afternoon or all day because that's apparently what you want to do with shrimp. You want it to fully thaw like at room temperature on the counter. Then I threw some butter in a pan to begin to brown. And then I thought I would show you that I actually pulled this Peach Paradise kombucha out of the fridge to sip on while I was cooking. This flavor is amazing. So I've made a roux before, but I've never browned the butter for the roux. And I read a blog post saying that that made it amazing. So I was letting my butter brown. Then my squash was ready. So I pulled it out of the oven. And then I continued to make my roux. So a roux is basically just flour and butter, if you didn't know that. It's a way to make a cream sauce. And I find it to be like one of the easiest because I don't always have cream on hand, but I tend to have butter and flour on hand. So once I had stirred all that together, I added in slowly a little bit of milk because like I mentioned, I didn't have cream, and I just continued to whisk that as it cooked or as I poured it in. And using a proper like whisker really helps to keep it smooth and creamy. And so while that was kind of reducing, I grated up a bunch of Parmesan cheese because I wanted that to be like the main cheesy flavor in this sauce. And once it had had a chance, like I mentioned, to bubble and reduce a little bit and thicken up, then I started adding my Parmesan cheese to the mix. And this sauce was so good. Then it was time to cook our shrimp. So we had put some butter in a pan, and then we poured the shrimp in. It had been marinating for maybe a half hour. You don't actually want to marinate shrimp longer than like 30 minutes to an hour because it breaks down very easily apparently. So we sauteed that up for maybe like 3 to 4 minutes. And then we pulled all of the quote unquote pasta or spaghetti out of the spaghetti squash. Now, like I mentioned, spoiler alert, it still was not as epic as I had hoped it would be. Now, don't get me wrong, it was edible. We ate it, but I still felt like it was just, I don't know, like the noodles weren't hearty enough. and like there was just way too much cream, which might be surprising as we're tossing this. That might surprise you, or you might be looking at it being like, oh, that looks like a pile of sludge. But like I said, it was still good. We did still eat it. I added some fresh cilantro on top, and it made for a good dinner. But I don't know how many more times I have left in me to experiment with spaghetti squash. We are on our way to Logi's very first music class. Are you excited?
Yes.
Yep, we're going, even though it's snowing. Let's do this. So recently, Logan started taking music classes, and on this day, it was his very first day of music class, and we still made it, even though it had dumped snow. So I thought I would just show you what we were looking at, because I can't believe that we've already gotten this much snow, and it's not even winter yet. My gosh. Oh yeah! See the light. It's happening, fam. So if you watch all of my vlogs, you might remember that I recently went to a canning class. Well, that same group on this night was doing a class all about creating holiday centerpieces. So the woman who was running the class has been doing wedding florals here in Coeur d'Alene for like 15 to 20 years, I want to say. And she was really great and very knowledgeable. And so I had a blast on this night building my floral centerpiece, and I definitely learned a lot. The wire tip to like put it in your bowl to hold the different leaves and flowers was something that would have never occurred to me. And all of the flowers and the foliage that she had brought in this day for us to create our centerpieces were foraged locally. So that was really cool too, to see what you could make from plants that she just, found around town. So I was very excited because I feel like my centerpiece turned out like beautiful, and now it's sitting in the center of our table. So yeah, guys, that is it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you again to Christian Healthcare Ministries for sponsoring this video. You guys, seriously, if you're on the hunt for a different way to take care of your medical bills, be sure to check them out. Also, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and you want to see more What I Eat in a Days. And with all of that being said, I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon with another new video. All right, bye guys.